Mostly dry, clear and cold this evening and early tonight with frost for a time in some areas, but thickening cloud will bring a rise in temperatures as rain moves into the west. Lowest temperatures of -1 to +2 degrees. Now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Football Show on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Jeff and Heskey.
I'm prepared to do anything I can to play for my country again.
Do it then.
What about your start to the game? It wasn't bad, was it?
Why should there be an honest answer be a mistake?
How can a modern day manager not have a mobile phone?
Why should he?
It is Thursday's Football Show. Nathan and Dan in studio until 10 o'clock. Europa League last 32. They're into the second halves. Manchester United well on their way into the last 16. They lead Club Brugge 3-0. Goals from Bruno Fernandes from the penalty spot, Odion Ighalo, his first for the club, and Scott McTominay in the first half. That, though, after Bruges were reduced to 10 men. Simon Deli was sent off for a rather bizarre handball where one of those diving, when you look at it first, from a certain angle, you think, well, he had no choice. The ball's going into the back of the net. He dives across, left arm out, and then you notice that actually his goalkeeper is right behind him and just about to save.
Instinctive, I guess.
Unnecessary. There was a bizarre long wait then for VAR to check it out, but he was sent off. 3 goals, Manchester United cruising. Not quite as straightforward for Arsenal or for Celtic. They're both at home. Arsenal 0, Olympiacos 0, but Arsenal lead by a goal to 0 from the first leg and still scoreless at Celtic Park between Celtic and FC Copenhagen. So that one 1-1 from the first leg. So as it stands, Celtic would go through on away goals.
It would be, I think Scottish football has actually had a bit of an upturn now with Rangers and Celtic results. That they're now going to get 2 places in the
Champions
League going forward. Basically, because Rangers have come on board and sort of taken some of the pressure off Celtic, who've been carrying their ranking on their own.
Celtic fans in the office are only delighted that Rangers have come on board and
they're with them, you know. But
like on a scale of 1 to 10, how annoyed are the Celtic supporters going to be if they get knocked out tonight and Rangers are already through?
I don't think they'd be that. Well, I mean, a small bit annoyed, but I mean, Celtic, it's all about the 10 in a row now. That's and I mean, Rangers have lost their way in the league in the last couple of weeks, so Celtic are one step away. So I think that to Celtic is probably everything. Like, neither of them are going to win the Europa League, so one getting further than the other. Yeah, I don't know.
In Scottish football, bragging rights.
But I think it's hollow bragging rights for Rangers. You know, we got one round further than you, but you're now on. We dropped points to St Johnstone at the weekend, so you're now closer to this thing that basically Gerrard and co were appointed and briefed with stopping you from doing it. This is a season where probably the first time where it was really thought they had a chance, realistically, of doing it. And they've completely fallen well short of that.
Irish Football Hall of Shame winner. So if you missed us in the news round earlier, we were talking about a potential Irish Football Hall of Fame. Somehow it very quickly flipped into a Irish Football Hall of Shame.
It was because of a text. It was
okay.
A negative text.
It's been very negative.
I thought it was you initially, but it was a text.
No, it was a text. That's all right.
Patsy, was it, or someone? I don't know. Someone who was.
Patsy.
Someone with a negative mindset.
Who's in the Hall of Shame so far? Well, the people who've been nominated. Well, this person suggests a winner. People who've been nominated include, the obvious.
Go on.
Administration.
Oh,
Stephen Ireland.
I just wanted you to say it.
Stephen Ireland for some strange reason.
Roy Keane will still be in it for some people.
Roy Keane. But the text claiming to be the winner is for your man in the yellow hat in the USA for the match against Mexico who blocked John Aldridge from coming on.
Oh.
Well, no, if we're going down that route, then Thierry Henry is the first man in the Hall of Shame.
Or Martin Hansen,
or both of them.
Or the linesman,
and William Gallas.
Or the linesman who didn't really see it, you know, who was the linesman who wasn't sent to the World Cup like everyone else was. He was the real victim.
Shay Given is going to join us in a few minutes. If he's listening in already, he's going, I cannot believe these lads are once again talking about Thierry Henry's handball.
Declan Rice, he was a contender.
Oh, well, he's definitely getting in.
I mean, if the bloke with the hat is in.
It's funny how... Well, it's not. It's a totally different scenario in a lot of ways. How, in a weird way, it feels as though you look at Jack Grealish and go, the one that got away. But he's flourishing. Now, he hasn't pulled on the old England jersey yet, so it'll probably change then. Whereas with Declan Rice, it's just downright anger.
Well, Declan Rice said he'd marry you, and he left you at the altar. You know, whereas Grealish, you went out for a while. You know, so like there's a slight...
You engaged?
You talked about it. You looked at rings, but you hadn't quite gone the whole way. You know what I mean? So, like it's a tough one.
Keep going.
It's a tough one.
Keep going with this analogy.
It's a tough. I don't know how far we can take it. Well, that's the question.
Not far enough.
That's the question.
Not far enough.
But, yeah, so they'd be in there. Stephen Ireland is like, I think he's probably a divisive one as well. You know. A lot of people from Cork in the mix. Like Roy Keane is like the Green Party. Everyone wants him in there. Like he's part of every discussion here. You know, like he'd win a poll for most popular Irish footballer. I'd say. I'd say if it was not multiple choice. You know, I'd say if it was just, you know, stop 100 people on the street, Grafton Street, where you like to go and get your sporting opinions. Stop 100 people there and like name your favourite Irish footballer. I think Roy would probably be top. But then if you asked the same 100 people their least favourite, there's a chance you'd get a bit of both. You know?
I'm surprised with Stephen Ireland. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is a little media bubble where
I think there's a bit of media sympathy for him, but I'm not sure if the public, you know, the match-going fans. I'm not sure. I think a lot of people out there would take a dim view of him. I think. You know, you can't pretend to know what people are thinking. But I've heard sympathy of Stephen Ireland in certain places, but to me, a lot of it is media-led. Rather than sort of people saying, oh, things weren't so bad with Stephen. I know he's given some good interviews and he's opened, you know, he's maybe people have a slightly different perspective, but I still don't know if that sympathy really exists with supporters.
Funny, there was somebody who spent a lot of time with him at a couple of clubs that we could talk to about this.
Who could you ring about this?
Randomly.
Let's pretend as though you just come up with it right now, you know. Let's get someone on the line to discuss this.
We're going to get him on the line in just a moment. I had teed it up. I thought the way JP had written it that Shay was on the line already and we should get to him.
There would have been a seamless link.
Then I saw him pick up the phone.
So
we now
just look like a bunch of morons, basically. But
who could that person be?
Yeah, if there's anybody we could just go back and by the way, like can you reintroduce the discussion there for 10, 20 seconds and then sort of link into it? No, don't do it. Too contrived.
Stephen Ireland still only 33. It could still be playing.
There's a lot of players, though, of that generation who, I don't know, it feels like they just drop off the radar without much. Like Mark Wilson, I don't think has a club at the moment. McShane was without a club and then he popped up at Rochdale. Darren Gibson was without a club for a period of time.
Salford.
And went to Salford. It seems more common now that younger players are just slipping out of sight very quickly. I wonder, is it like a Premier League era thing? And like financially they're not under the same pressure to just find a club because they've been on Premier League wages for a period of time.
That they're set up for life.
Well, I wouldn't want to be presumptuous to say they're set up for life, but it's not necessarily a pressing need that they need to be. There's a large number of like out of work players who haven't retired.
And then you have some players who just won't retire.
Yeah.
Anyway, Shay Given's on the line. Evening, Shay.
I'm trying to say, lads. What are you trying to say?
We've just been talking.
I think, listen, you guys might make a comeback here. I've not got a club.
Did you officially retire though? Did you announce?
I think it did, yeah. I think I'm done, lads. I think I'm done.
I think you had a few Irish retirements, but I'm trying to think club-wise. Like there definitely is some players who just
never retire.
They don't retire, but they don't have a club, and it doesn't actually.
You might get the phone call. You might get the call.
Yeah.
Well, how many goalkeepers do Derby County have? How many players need to go down in terms? Are you Prince Harry in terms of accession to the throne here?
Harry's well above me.
So
I'm way down the pecking order.
We're going to talk about the Shay Given Derby in a minute. That's happening in the League Cup final. Somebody else who you could call it was the Stephen Ireland Derby. We were just chatting about Stephen Ireland there. We had done a great link thinking you were on the line, but you weren't. You obviously spent quite a bit of time with Stephen Ireland between club and country. Did you ever get to know him?
I do. Stephen's a good guy. I mean, he obviously with the stuff that happened with Adam, with the granny gate or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what you want to call it, but he got obviously a lot of bad press and coverage on that, you know. But Stephen's a good guy. He lives actually not too far from me here and stuff. And I still see him 5 sides and just sort of the local sort of centre where you can play football and stuff. And he's still playing football. I don't know if he's officially retired yet. I think he still looks pretty fit to me when I see him playing. But I don't know if he's officially hung his boots up yet.
Well, wasn't there a story about Stephen Ireland that in the house he lived in, he had a 5-a-side pitch in his back garden, and there was actually complaints from the neighbours about like loud games of football taking place. Like, you have this image of someone who maybe, you think someone might have fallen out of love with football for some reason, but actually he clearly didn't fall out of love with football, because he, as you mentioned, he's still kicking about for fun.
Yeah, no, definitely still playing, and I know his son is a Stoke now. His son's a big prospect as well. He's a very good player. He plays for Stoke City Academy, and he's doing really well as well. You know, so I see him doing one-on-one sessions with him and stuff, and trying to make him better as well. But you know, Stephen was a fantastic player when I was at City. He was a great player. I mean, he's one of the, nearly every week he was one of our best players. First, and that's above Robinho and the likes, you know, some of the bigger names in our team, and he was one of the star men.
I guess, and maybe you're seeing this more now with your coaching head on and seeing young players coming through. Like, some people may love the game, but maybe it's the business of the game and the professional side of things and all that you have to deal with just doesn't suit certain personalities.
I don't know. I still think for most players that I've dealt with are very much they want to play football. Like, that's all I ever wanted to do was play football as a kid. And yes, I understand everyone's different, of course they are, and there's lots more maybe money involved in the game now and stuff. But you know, once you cross that white line, when the ref blows the whistle and what have you, you're not thinking about your money or anything. You're thinking about. Well, I'd like to think the players are thinking about, you know, putting in a really good performance for themselves, their family, and for the fans, and for the club, and trying to get a result, or for the country, or whatever team they're playing for. That's the most important thing. Once you're in that zone, maybe when you're away from the pitch, you might be thinking of other things, and you know, I don't know, next car or something, or house or whatever. I don't really know, but I think you know, players in general, I would, you know, hang my hat on. We want to be, you know, winning the game of football. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching a bit of your game with QPR the other night, and I was sort of struck. I was watching, you know, Wayne Rooney play, and there's someone who's like doesn't need to play football, you know, in the sense of financially or whatever, but you still see him there on a Tuesday night, Wednesday night at a championship ground, and he's still trying to make things happen. Like, what's it been like to work with him, and is it obvious that he still has that desire just to play?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic for everyone sort of linked with that, but to see him work on a daily basis, obviously play as well, but to see him in training and stuff as well, his attitude and his work rate and his will to play football is phenomenal. He's probably the last one in the training ground. He's always out practicing free kicks or penalties, or I was doing some kicking the other day. One of the keepers, he started showing him what to do with the kicks, goal kicks and stuff. You know, he just wants to. He's a real sort of guy who really wants to improve people and make better players. But I think he does a lot of by example as well, and what he does himself. And I think that rubs off on players, and especially some of the, we've got quite a few young players coming through, and they're looking at Wayne Rooney thinking, "Oh my God, this is, you know, a legend of the game," and he's out, you know, he's out there practicing, and it's maybe snowing or blowing a gale or lashing down the rain, but he wants to become better. Even still, he still wants to improve and be the best he can be.
You went up against him many times when he was very much at his peak. Like, what is the big difference, Rooney at 34 to Rooney at 24? Is it just fitness?
Well, I don't know if it's just fitness. I think we you know, you probably lost a yard of pace. You would probably say that, but we sort of playing him more in a midfield role. I think he plays at 10 against QPR all night, but probably some of his best games for us has been even deeper than that. You know, sort of in midfield and sort of controlling the game, because you know, as you can imagine, his touch and his vision and everything on the football pitch is fantastic. It's stuff sometimes you can't coach kids. He's sort of a knack that he finds spaces and sometimes you don't have to be sprinting all over the pitch. It's actually looking with the opposition and finding middle pockets to pick the ball up. And then, of course, when he's on the ball as well, he sees things that, you know, other players don't see and runs and he's just still got that great ability of picking the right pass.
Yeah, John Giles will be on here every Thursday night saying that, like, the best players should get better the older they get, because they're learning something from every game. They've seen it all. They can anticipate situations a little bit better. Like, does he look like a player who can go on because of that knowledge, even if the yard of pace is gone, to play on till he's 37, 38?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's really hungry to play as long as he can as well. I think he knows, obviously, he's a long time retired, and I suppose with me in his ear as well, we share the odd lift in and out, and in his ear tell him, you know, play as long as you can, because, you know, I have got a long career. I'm sure one day I want to be a manager or a coach as well, and he's got a long number of years to do that, but you can only play for a certain amount of years, and when you look back, you know, I'm finished now, obviously, when you look back, I was lucky to have quite a long career play, but it still feels quite short, and it still feels like it went quite quick, and I just feel, you know, Wayne, I want to play on as long as possible.
Are you getting a buzz out of the coaching?
Yeah, I mean, when you lose away to QPR and you're gone from the house and the family for 2 days and you come back with nothing, then it's, you know, it's a tough one. There's no getting away from that. You're a bit down for a day or two, but now we're back in again today, and we travel to Sheffield Wednesday tomorrow again, and come kick off on Saturday, we'll be ready to go again. And even as a coach, the buzz and the excitement you get from when you get results and stuff, it's fantastic. It's just, it's very similar to when you're playing. You're even more so maybe as a coach, because you feel you've sort of more input in the whole team, helping you pick the team. And obviously, with the manager, with Philip Cockey, is very open with all his ideas, and he leans heavily on his coaches for team selection and your opinion as well, which is really valued, and that's great for me to learn from him as well.
You mentioned, Shay, the young players at the club that are getting to work with Wayne Rooney. I mean, with the Irish hat on, maybe his name has slipped under the radar when people are talking about Troy Parrott and Connolly and whatnot. But I mean, Jason Knight has actually taken a massive step forward this year to play championship football regularly. I mean, what type of character is he? He's a very talented midfield player, but maybe for people who don't know that much about him, how has he sort of settled in?
Well, he's done brilliant since he came in the team. Yeah, he's not played every game, but the gaffer's trying to sort of break him in gently, as they say, not try and give him too much football too soon. But Jason is a fantastic character. I mean, if you look at his running stats after any game, he's probably the fittest person at the football club. He will run all day. He will give you everything, and also he's got personality in a sense. He makes demands of people even at a young age. He would be shouting at a lot of older players in the first team, to improve, or he's better and stuff. And for me, I think he's got real leadership qualities. He could be a captain one day. I think that highly of him. He's got that personality and that will not to lose, and the desire to and he's got real qualities on the ball and stuff as well. And I think he's got a massive future. And as you say, that maybe he doesn't get the headlines, but I think the slower or the longer he's sort of playing in our first team and stuff, and obviously Kramer likes the Wayne Rooney, I think that's only going to improve him as well. And you can see Wayne always talking to him and trying to improve him as well. And he's going to be a great. I think he's don't want to put too much pressure on him, but I think he's got a big future, definitely. Yeah.
Do you think somebody like Knight, who's just turned 19, come next September when Stephen Kenny's in charge, Nations League qualifiers are starting, that he'd be ready for international football at that stage?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, if he's playing regularly, and I think then he'll definitely be very close. Obviously, Stephen knows him as well from the under-21s, of course, and has worked with him. And obviously Keith Andrews, keeps in touch with me, asks me a lot about him as well and stuff. So he's very much on their radar, of course, and it'll depend on how he keeps developing. If he keeps going the way he's going now, then there's no reason why he won't be knocking around the squad at that point for sure. I think he's a real talent.
To talk to you about Sunday then and the League Cup final and that clash of two of your former teams, Manchester City and Aston Villa, there's romance around Aston Villa being back in a cup final, but there's always romance, it seems, with whatever team Manchester City are playing, and they've no time for it. They just go out and they win well. If you're in that Villa dressing room and you're trying to think of a way of staying in the game or winning this cup final, what do you do? How do you approach this game from an Aston Villa point of view?
It's a very tough question to answer that, because look at Man City last night against Real Madrid. I mean, for me it was 2-1 obviously, but they could have been more, and that's in the Bernabeu. So I'd imagine the Aston Villa players at home watching that last night will be sort of asking that same question: what do we do? Do we stay really compact and try and hit them on the break? Do we have kind of a go ourselves? Because arguably with Laporte missing now, Fernandinho and maybe Otamendi, that maybe is one of Man City's weak links. But the problem is getting that far up the pitch and getting the ball off, and that's the biggest issue, I think. I don't know what Dean Smith's going to say, what way he's going to approach it, but at some point they're going to have to come out of I would imagine, start with a low block and try and stay in the game for as long as they can, and obviously the likes of someone like Jack Grealish on the pitch, then I think they'll try and get as far up the pitch as they can and create them some problems. But then when you do go at Man City, then you're always vulnerable at the back because you haven't got the sort of low block to protect the defence and stuff. So from the outside, you look, it's going to be an easy game for Man City, but you never know. Cup finals, you just don't know. I mean, I remember a few years back that Wigan beat Man City in the cup final, and no one gave them a prayer before the game. So, there'll be a glimmer of hope that they can do something like Wigan perhaps and win the game. But what way you want to approach it, and how do you set up? It's a really tricky question. So the Premier League managers up and down the country, maybe managers around Zidane, probably thinking how does he approach the next time he plays Man City in the away leg? It's a very difficult question to answer.
You mentioned Jack Grealish there, and if they're to do anything, you'd imagine he's going to be very much to the forefront of it on Sunday. Yeah. And we were at Villa Park a couple of weeks ago for the game against Spurs, where every time he got the ball out in that left wing, he just seemed to cause them a huge amount of problems. where he is now at 24, and a lot of people talking about him getting in that England squad for the European Championship. From what you remember of him when you were at Villa, is this exactly where you thought he would be? Getting on the England squad, being linked with teams in the top six?
He's played about 50 times for Ireland. That would have been good, but obviously it's a tough decision for Jack to make and stuff. But I think he definitely would have been playing regularly for us now if he had it chosen ourselves. But there's a lot of pressure on a young man's shoulders at time to make that decision, and I think you see Southgate at a lot of the games now. I'll be very surprised if he's not in the next squad. For me, he's one of the best players. You look at the Premier League now, up and down. Obviously De Bruyne stands out. But if you look at a lot of teams, Jack would get into a lot of teams, I think, because he's that good a player, and he's their go-to man. It seems like wherever he's on the pitch, you try and find him, and he makes things happen. As you said, you watch them live and stuff. He's even better in real life sometimes. And when you watch him on the TV, he's so gifted, and I think he will be in the next England squad for sure.
Do you think he's... I mean, you obviously worked with him when he was younger at Villa. Do you think he's someone that's benefited from those couple of years in the Championship? Because actually, he was a marked man a lot of the times in the Championship, but I wonder, was it a sort of a character-building thing for him? Is he a more, resolute character now? Because it must have been, and you know the division very well now, it must have been a great experience for him. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, it's a tough division as well, Dan. There's no, and it's so hectic, the games, as you say. We just got back from London yesterday. We're going to Sheffield tomorrow. It's like it seems it's non-stop. The games come so thick, so fast, and I think Jack's grown up a little bit as well off the pitch. I think he's professional, so much more professional now. And I think John Terry. I've still got some friends at Villa. He's had a big influence on him as well. And days we were in the gym till 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, where he was younger, he'd be going home, and I think the sort of pennies dropped with Jack that it's not just train for an hour and a half in the morning. There's lots of other things you need to do to be a top player, and that's what I think Jack is. He's a real top player, and I think that he's doing everything by the book now, and I think that shows as well in his performances.
City last night was probably their standout performance certainly of the season, and the way Guardiola changed things tactically to catch Real Madrid out. They are still 22 points behind Liverpool in the Premier League table. When you've watched City this season, where has it gone wrong?
It's probably maybe not as simple as what I'm going to say, but probably the defence has not been good enough. I think obviously with Vincent Kompany, you've lost one of the best defenders the Premier League's ever seen. He's also the captain of the football club, and if it was me, I would have loved to try to keep Vinny for another season, even for what he does in the change room. But back that up by not replacing him, and then back him up by losing Laporte, then it's your two main centre halves from last season are not in the team anymore, and there's still question marks for me over Otamendi, and obviously John Stones has not hit the form I think that he can hit as well. So then you're playing a midfielder at the back, and he's a very good midfielder, Fernandinho, but he's not a Vinny Kompany, he's not a Laporte, he's not a centre half, let's be honest. So I do believe that's one of the main problems they've had all season, and I think it's a little bit of blind spot in the sense that they didn't replace Vinny and get another centre half in the summer.
Just on the Manchester City goalkeeper, on Ederson, and maybe even on Alisson as well. I saw on your Instagram you were up at a coaching course last week with the English goalkeeping. Like this is very much your job and your future now. What you're trying to teach goalkeepers now compared to what you were taught when you were coming through, is it very, very different, the skill set that you're trying to get across to young goalkeepers to what you were taught? Considering how much you're expected to do with the ball at your feet now compared to maybe 10, 20 years ago.
That's probably the big change, Nathan, is obviously do a lot more stuff with the ball at your feet, passing, and, doing exercise where there's pressure on the goalkeeper and sort of adding that into a match situation, because a lot of teams, Man City is a perfect example, but also Derby as well, we like to play from the back, and the keeper becomes an outfield player basically when you have the ball, so you've got to change the sessions and do pitch sessions that's going to benefit him, and when it comes to a match there, he's really comfortable with the ball at his feet, and of course you have to work with outfield players as well to be in the right shape for the team to play out and what have you, and people pick up the right positions to make that job easier, and that's all part of it as well. But you can't forget that your first job is to keep the ball in the net as best you can, and you can't get away from that fact either. There's obviously counter presses and shot stopping and reflexes and all that kind of stuff as well. People say, you can nearly have an outfield player in goals, but you can't. You need to be able to keep the ball in the net. That's your first job is to stop the ball going in the net. So you have to have the skills to do that as well, and you still have to work on them every day.
Is that day one of the coaching course, the goalkeepers union together? When people say an outfield player can play in goals, You shoot them down. You shut them down.
Yeah, it's a good line. Yeah.
They'll be kicking around the back for a bit of a hiding out there with that chat. But no, you know, every coach and every person is different, and you know, obviously we play different clubs in the championship, and they don't want to keep it a player at all. They wanted to launch it down the pitch as far as possible, you know. But also Derby, you know, I think it's the way the game's going, and it's quite refreshing for me because, you know, I work with the other coaches as well. We put sessions on to take the pressure on the goalkeeper, and the players are a big part of that. The outfield players, I mean, because, you know, I used to look back at some examples where Van de Sar, for example, was at Fulham, and he didn't look to play that much, and he went to Man United and was like, oh my God, he's unbelievable, the ball at his feet. But a lot to do with that was to do with the players, because every time he got the ball at Man United, there was maybe 6 or 7 options. At Fulham, he had maybe 1 or 2, or sometimes none. So, you know, you're sort of goalkeepers, and sometimes are judged on you know, the how many passes they get right, but that depends on the team shape as well.
We've a text in from Niall just on the Ireland situation, wanting to ask you what was a position of traditional strength for Ireland. The goalkeeping role has now become an area where we're not too deep in terms of backup to Darren Randolph. Yeah. There's a lot of young goalkeepers.
It's not Niall Quinn, is it? It's not Niall Quinn, no.
Has he offered you a gig?
No, I just I don't think it's not Niall Quinn, is it?
Not that I know of. It could be. If it is Niall.
He's looking for advice in a slightly unusual way.
It's fine. Like, you would probably have Shay's number. I'm sure he'd respond. It is all going well. Darren Randolph stays fit between now and hopefully Euro 2020. But if there was a problem, it is a bit of a worry.
Well, yeah. I mean, the other problem is obviously Darren as well is now at West Ham, and he's not playing every week. That's the other big issue for me. I mean, Darren's been fantastic since he's been in the team. But he's been playing regularly since he's been in the team, you know, for Middlesbrough, and now the concern for me is, you know, he's not playing. You know, you can. He's still good enough. Of course, he's still good enough not to play and still play. I get that, but I think for him to be at his best and to be as sharpness, I think is ideally be better off playing. You know, so that's not ideal. And then I suppose behind that, what have we got? I mean, Westwood's not playing at Sheffield Wednesday. O'Hara's playing at Burton, I think, but I don't know. There's not. I don't know, there's not loads coming through. You guys, you should fill me in more. I don't know.
I think Mick has said before it would be O'Hara, I think, just purely because he's playing. I mean, Kelleher hasn't been playing.
Travers hasn't been playing.
Yeah, I think he was asked the question before, and he got the impression O'Hara was number 2.
Everyone always says, and like this will come up if Darren Randolph, and Fabianski obviously made a couple of mistakes against Liverpool, but if Darren Randolph doesn't play between now and Slovakia, everything we'll hear, I'm sure, from the management team will be, listen, he's professional, he's experienced. He's a fit guy. It'll all be fine. But like, you've been in that position, and when you were in that position, that's exactly what was said. Like, were you bluffing, or like, did you feel a little bit undercooked at times if you hadn't been playing club football?
I was a bluffer. It's only 25 years old. No, I mean, you know, there's nothing in any position on the pitch that you're not going to be better if you're not playing. You know, if you're playing regularly, then you're going to be better. There's no way of getting away from it. Like, you know. But of course, Darren's in a situation, he could be playing next week. We don't know, obviously, but at the minute he's not playing, and it's not ideal. You know, in an ideal situation, you'd want to be playing, because it's just you know, you can train to the cows come home and what have you, but it's very difficult to sort of reenact that match situation. The pressure, of course, also decision making when, you know, through balls and stuff. Sometimes it's hard to put that sort of session on. You can't really get that sort of decision making sort of process too good when you're just doing a coaching sort of session, and the pressure is very difficult, obviously, as you know, to put a pressure situation and obviously playoff and all that. So there's a whole different sort of stuff in the mix if he's not playing before that. But of course, Darren's now very experienced goalkeeper, and of course for club and country, so you know, he's a calm, sort of cool customer anyway, so I don't think he'll be faded that way. But in an ideal world, if you're asking me ideally, of course he'd be better if he was playing,
Yeah, look, Shay, that's all very interesting. It's been a great chat, but like that was all fluff. What we really want to know is, have you been invited to the Kilban wedding?
You know what? I'm still waiting for the invite. Maybe he's lost. I don't even know when. Do you know when? Is there a date set?
Oh,
you know?
Don't know if he'd respond to our text. We might know, but
any breaking news you want to tell me?
I think that's going to be released in a magazine. That's the whole thing. I don't think surely the terms are that it's going to be. You know,
he used to call me, he used to text me, he used to ring me, he'd FaceTime me, and even go out for dinner the odd time. Nothing.
No.
Just blank.
Oh.
He just flatlined on me, just dropped me.
That's it. I mean, this could be. You could give an interview to Hello Magazine about this. You know, there could be. There could be potential in it.
Reality TV change, my friend.
Yeah,
forever.
My Kevin is gone.
Man down.
My heartbreak. Man down. All right, Shay, great stuff.
All right, cheers, guys.
Thanks for taking the call.
Shay.
Shay, given there, you'll be able to get all that back on offtheball.com. Couple of interesting goals in the Europa League. Celtic have gone behind at home against Copenhagen. Santos with a goal 6 minutes into the second half. There's 15 minutes left in that one. And Arsenal have gone behind as well at home against Olympiacos. Papi Cisse with the goal for Olympiacos, scoring there with... How long was gone? There's 50 minutes left.
What's the aggregate in that?
So it's 1-1 on aggregate in that game. He scored in 53 minutes, but there's 15 minutes left in that one as well. So Arsenal and Celtic sweating. Celtic need a goal, are they heading out of Europe. Manchester United, though, it's been very straightforward for them. 3-0 up. All the goals scored in the first half from Bruno Fernandes, Ilian Gallo and Scott McTominay. So they lead Club Brugge by 4-1. Quick break.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Jeff and Heskey.
Moncrief.
I don't understand what man in their right mind would think that a woman would want to see a dick pic. I mean, are there, listening to me right now, is there any woman who thinks, I got a dick pic the other day, it was great? Because really, it's not, it's not that attractive. Let's be honest, lads, it's not.
Moncrief.
With the all-new Dacia Duster.
Weekdays from 2 p.m. on News Talk.
If I was a woman, I'd be a lesbian, 100%.
Have a great evening with itsforwomen.ie. Don't live your life on hold. Get a quote now at itsforwomen.ie and see why we're trusted by over 130,000 women in Ireland.
Harvey Norman are celebrating a leap year with not 1, but 4 days of deals. Get leap year savings on appliances, technology, furniture and bedding now. Save up to €500 on corner sofas, dining tables from €140, up to 50% off Irish-made mattresses. Plus, many more deals in store and online. Give your home a fresh new look this spring with Harvey Norman leap year savings. 4 days only, must end Sunday.
Go! Everything changed after my brain injury. The tumour was gone, but I lost my confidence. I even stopped going out with my friends. I'm only 26. But that was before I found Acquired Brain Injury Ireland. They've given me a new lease of life, and I do things now I never thought possible.
Brain injuries happen in the blink of an eye. That's when you and your family need every support to rebuild your lives. At Acquired Brain Injury Ireland, we provide personalised rehabilitation because every brain injury is unique. Learn more at abiireland.ie.
HPV is a really common virus that can cause cancer in women and in men.
The HPV vaccine protects young people from getting the HPV virus when they grow up.
And it's now available to both boys and girls in first year of secondary school.
Thing is, the more young people that get the vaccine,
the more young people will be protected from HPV cancers.
Get the facts on hpv.ie, approved by the World Health Organization.
Get the facts, get the vaccine.
Protect our future.
From the HSE.
Join the switching revolution at Carphone Warehouse today. Thousands of people across the country have switched with us and made massive savings on their mobile TV and broadband. We've got exclusive deals like the iPhone 7 for free on a €30 a month plan, or the iPhone XR for free on a €60 a month plan when you switch to 3. But only when you switch at Carphone Warehouse. Get into one of our 82 Carphone Warehouse shops near you and join the switching revolution today. T's and C's apply. Offer subject to availability and 24-month contract.
Off the Ball. This is News Talk.
You're welcome back. Celtic still 1-0 down at home against Copenhagen, 2-1 down on aggregate in the Europa League, and Arsenal still trailing Olympiacos by 1-0, but that one could be going to extra time. 10 minutes left. Manchester United 4-1 up on aggregate against Club Brugge. Wolves went through earlier despite the fact they were beaten 3-2 by Espanyol. They led 4-0 from the first leg, so 6-3 that finished on aggregate. Just to let you know as well, the Snap is live on OTB Sports Radio and all our social channels from 1 o'clock tomorrow. Ronan and Keane Fahy will be looking at free agency in the NFL. If you want more great American football content, subscribe to our newsletter, OTB Club Gridiron, for news, stats, videos and more. Subscribe now at offtheball.com/Club Gridiron. What do you want to talk about, Dan?
Well, have you got our list that we flagged earlier on?
We do have our list.
Now,
so,
do we have it up to date? This was a slide.
Well, no. So we're going to do live up to date because of your in-depth knowledge of this, and in the best mode of live radio, if you get it wrong, people will text in abuse, and we'll correct the list as we go along.
Okay.
I think that'll make really good radio for the next sort of 15 minutes. So this started out, as I said, because... So we've a list up on offtheball.com now of the top 25 Irish Republic of Ireland scorers. Should make that clear.
Important
because I'm currently tagged in a Twitter spat about the fact that George Best and Derek Dugan aren't on my list. Well, Republic of Ireland scorers.
You have to
in
apply
the English
UEFA and
top
FIFA
flight.
distinctions to it. When you're not making a political statement.
Yeah, and we'll probably come back to this list because there's a lot of interesting names on it who we maybe don't talk to or talk about as often we should. Frank Stapleton being one of them, who is the leading Irish scorer, which I was certainly surprised by as I went through it. John Giles, 91 goals from midfield.
People forget how outrageously good he was. And I guess it's just a reflection of how many people. How many people have seen him play? That just know him.
Unfortunately for
as
John,
the pundit,
the pundit, but also the one clip. If you put in John Giles into YouTube and a footballing clip comes up, it's him nailing Kevin Keegan.
yeah. Was Brady on your list? Liam Brady.
Brady is on the list.
He spent a bit of time, obviously. He spent a long amount of time away. So obviously, his tally would.
Do you want me to run through? I'll run through the list very quickly.
People who want to probably hear it.
All right. Since we're talking about
a bit of it.
So I have every goal scorer from one goal all the way up. But
where did you pluck all this info? Was there? Maybe I'll talk about this off air.
We'll talk about it. There was 2 or 3 different websites that because you start cross-referencing.
Let's not talk about research tools on air. But
It wasn't Wikipedia because Wikipedia actually for several of them, and which gets very frustrating because I had say 2 websites that said the same thing. And then Wikipedia says something different, you're going, oh no.
Wikipedia on goals and appearances is particularly troublesome.
So, 25th place, Paddy Fagan, 33 goals.
Okay.
Scored for Manchester City, played for City in the 50s. Davy Walsh, now he's one with an asterisk beside it, the only one with an asterisk beside it. 35 goals since 1950.
I was going to say...
But he played between 1945 and 1950, but it's impossible to get a proper record of the amount of goals.
I was going to say, is everyone in this post-Second World War?
Everybody is, but for those first few years post-Second World War. So I would say he probably has a few more. Kevin Doyle, 37 goals. Tony Cascarino, 41. Then in tied 20th, you have Jonathan Walters on 43 goals. And Liam Whelan on 43 goals.
By age, that's extraordinary, where he would be if he'd... God, he was 21, was he, in Munich? 20, I think.
And already at that stage had 43 goals in 79 games, 22 years.
22, was it, sorry.
When he passed away in the Munich air disaster. Andy Townsend on 44 goals.
People wouldn't get that one, I don't think. If you're doing one of those, is it Sporkle quizzes or something, where I think that'd be a tough one.
Celtic have equalised. Penalty. 1-1.
Extra time.
In that game. So it looks like they're heading to extra time. There's 10 minutes left in that. Funnily enough then, tied for 17th on 46 goals, Ronnie Whelan and Ray Houghton.
Well, that's a tidy link. Man U just went a 4-0, by the way. So Fred, I think
4-0 to Manchester United then. So 5-1 on aggregate. 16th place, Terry Conroy, 48 goals.
Yeah.
All for Stoke.
Great career.
Steve Highway, 50 goals.
Yeah.
In the English top flight with Liverpool.
Signed from non-league football. College degree, wasn't he?
Also on 50 goals, Liam Brady.
So he could have been 65, 70 if he'd stayed in England, you would have thought,
Then up to 13th, Damien Duff, 54 goals.
Yeah. It wasn't prolific. It's still a good career total.
Premier League years ended up on The Office, and they were going through that sort of 02 to 06 spell. Some of the goals he scored for Blackburn. Obviously, the Chelsea goals, like some of the team goals that he finished off for Chelsea during Mourinho's time, were out of this world. But the reason he got the move was the quality.
Yeah,
Blackburn.
As amazing as he was at Chelsea, and he was probably a more rounded player, I don't know if he was ever as good as he was in his last year or two at Blackburn and that 02 World Cup period. Maybe he was better as an all-round performer, but in terms of excitement,
he was probably more effective for Chelsea because he was working with a world-class manager who could fit him into a spot in a team that got maybe the most out of him, but just for pure trickery and what you wanted Damien Duff to be.
Yeah.
He was sort of let loose at Blackburn.
Yeah, I would have thought, people talk about best players to play for Ireland, and he probably doesn't win that debate. But in terms of, he won't win the best attacker because he wasn't really an out-and-out player. but probably like the most exciting player to play for Ireland. Like, you know, he has to be way up there. Like, you know, just in terms of the sheer
we
sort
don't
of
create that
exhilaration.
type of player.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exceptionally good.
Oh, Celtic have gone behind, having just equalised through a penalty from Hudson Edouard. Copenhagen have gone straight up the other end and scored.
And they're toast now, Celtic.
Celtic need to score twice in the final 5 minutes or they are heading out of Europe. Wow. So, yeah.
Damien Duff, of course, with the Celtic coaching staff. So
things were going better when he scored those 54 goals in the English top flight, which put him on to 13th place in our list. We have a tie for 11th on 55 goals. Roy Keane.
Yeah.
And the only active player in the top 25, Shane Long.
Yeah.
So Shane Long obviously scored at the weekend, moved him up to 55 goals. Top 10. We should have had countdown music, JP. We should have thought about this.
Particularly as this is actually the warm-up list for the list.
This is only the warm-up list for the new list that we've just come up with now.
Yeah, come on, just rattle through the 10.
Top 10. 57 goals, Michael Robinson.
Yeah, people would struggle with that one. But
obviously had a season at Liverpool where he won everything.
Spanish TV.
Then we have a tie for 8th, Don Givens, 62 goals. And Jerry Daly, 62 goals for Manchester United, Derby County and Coventry City. 7th place, Kevin Sheedy, 66 goals. 6th place, Andy McAvoy, who we've spoken about with John Giles earlier and over the last few weeks, who was a joint top scorer in the First Division.
Very short, like his career span. Like again, it was a short and sharp burst of goals that he scored.
84 goals in the English top flight, and as John Giles said, he was homesick the entire time, so was desperate to get back and
came back to Limerick,
and sadly died just 55 in 1994. I read actually his niece is involved with the Irish underage setup at the moment. Then top 5, John Aldridge, 88 goals. Again, would have been more. He really only played 4 seasons in the top flight and finished with 88 goals.
Yeah, that's impressive.
John Giles, 91 goals. Niall Quinn, 109 goals. Robbie Keane, 126. And then Frank Stapleton, 136 goals. It's all up and off the ball.com if you want to check it out.
Yeah.
So that then raised the question earlier on of, in European football, in the Champions League / European Cup, going all the way back, who are the leading Irish scorers?
This includes qualifying matches,
includes
any
qualifiers.
description. So,
exactly.
Yeah, any description of European Cup game.
How do you want to do this?
Well,
what creates the most drama?
Well, you join the top to bottom. Well, 10 to 1. See, I think we'll go 1 down. I think.
Okay, who's number 1?
Well, I did guess this.
You know the answer.
News round, and you told me I was right.
I was trying to create some.
But I've forgotten
suspense.
all the other ones. Okay. But I thought it would have been Roy Keane.
Roy Keane, 15 goals.
Dennis Irwin or Roy Keane would have been, but I'm not even sure Dennis Irwin
is on the list that I have, which is about the sort of top 7.
Yeah.
Second place on this list, they went slightly different to me. They went with George Best.
Yeah.
9 goals. Now here's where it gets interesting because Ronnie Whelan, 6 goals, but you made a point. Because when we get into the 5s, you've got Glenn Crowe and Jason Byrne.
But Dave McMillan scored 5 in a season.
Scored 5 in a season and scored 2 more. So Dave McMillan's on 7.
So he's second now in the all-time.
From Republic of Ireland players, Dave McMillan is second on the all-time list.
To Roy Keane. And therefore highest scoring Irish striker in a European Cup, Champions League. If Copenhagen scored again.
They have. So Celtic are doomed.
Very much done.
So 3-1 on the night. It is 4-2 on aggregate, and Celtic are heading out of Europe.
McMillan, he had in 2016, because he scored all of Dundalk's early goals, and he scored the 3 goals against the team from Iceland, and then he scored 2 goals against Bate, Borisov. So he actually scored 5 of them in 3 games. So at the time, he was the top scorer in Europe. He was in fact, for a good part of the Champions League, he was the top scorer in that year's competition. So who are the other 5s then? Who else have we got on the list?
The other 5s.
Well, Glenn Crowe you mentioned, Jason Byrne.
Glenn Crowe, Jason Byrne. And the only other one on 5, Billy Whelan. No, Billy Whelan's Liam Whelan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who had 5 as well. And that's it.
It's not exactly... You would have thought McGeady or Killian Sheridan. Or Sheridan's been around a lot without necessarily... Well, obviously he hasn't scored that many goals in the Champions League competition itself.
More Europa League?
Well, that's the thing. See, did Robbie play in the Champions League?
He would have played in the Champions League at some stage.
With? Leeds?
Who?
Leeds?
We'll find this out right now.
Liverpool that season Well, Liverpool was 2007 he was there, was it? And Liverpool lost
just after.
They lost the final to Milan, was it? So, I guess so. But like, you're probably talking a very low number of appearances he's made in the competition. His time with Celtic was the second half of the season. So, like, with Spurs, was he involved in the Spurs run when Gareth Bale burst on the scene that time?
In 2011. He should have been
He
around.
went to Galaxy in 2011, though, I think. So, like, might have been on the fringes around that stage. But
he's not on our list.
I don't recall. I'm not surprised that he's not sort of registering on
International competitions, played Champions League qualifying. He did. Played for Liverpool, scored twice for Liverpool in the Champions League. His
that team
only
from Macedonia or something.
Champions League goals. Scored against PSV Eindhoven and Atletico Madrid.
Oh, okay.
In the group stage, obviously.
On
he
the
was
group
only there
stage?
For the,
Gosh, completely forgotten those goals. Yeah.
he was only there for the 6 months or so. Yeah.
there
They
you
made
go.
3-1 win and he won all draw. No, was it not against PSV Eindhoven where he scored the third goal? He had a huge opportunity and he sort of tried to back flick it in. Right at the end of the game, they're 3-1 up and he tries a little sort of dinked back heel finish that doesn't come off.
Oh, this now.
And Benitez loses his mind afterwards.
Oh, okay. You see, now that's you've better recollection of specific Liverpool incidents. You know.
But he did score, but only
okay.
a couple.
Only a couple.
So I don't think Roy Keane is going to be toppled anytime soon.
No, not in terms of European Cup Champions League goals. No, it's probably hard.
Arsenal are into injury time. It's almost over. They're defending a corner kick against Olympiacos. It looks as though this one is going to extra time. Mustafi is defending, but it looks like he's picked up a bit of an injury there. The referee's having a word with Lucas Torreira. If they survive this, Arsenal, it will go to extra time. Manchester United 4-0 up against Club Brugge, 5-1 on aggregate. The corner kick is sent in. Doesn't look as though it's going to come to anything. And we will be heading to extra time at the Emirates. That's a very strong Arsenal side. It's pretty much their full strength starting 11 that they put out, but they've been beaten at home by Olympiacos 1-0. The final whistle goes, so they are heading to extra time between Arsenal and Olympiacos.
Yeah, and they're in that weird situation where the away team, as you go to extra time, are in a great position. You know, just hit, get lucky once and you're flying.
Any chance of a similar list for female football players? Hashtag 20by20. Well, this is one of the issues, and something that will improve, I would imagine, dramatically over the next few years, is that the record of stats keeping in women's sport hasn't been good.
Yeah, and the Women's Champions League is in a different, it's like grouped format. So actually, there probably would be some players who've scored quite a few goals. You know, that they can win and lose within their group. And sometimes the margins can be quite substantial in either direction. But yeah, that database is definitely going to be an issue. I mean, someone's just going to have to retrospectively go back and update it all. And I'm sure it's probably there to some degree, but it's just not as freely available as your men's stats.
We'll have a look. We shall have a look and see if we can come up with anything over the next few days. So Dundalk, Shamrock Rovers, are you keen to make a prediction, a Johnny Ward-esque prediction?
No, look, you don't do that. I just hope it's a really good match. And I hope that the weather isn't an issue as it has been with early season games. It can be pretty windy out there in Tala.
Last Friday night was the worst conditions I think I've ever been at for a football match.
I saw you posted an image of the corner flag. I was up in Derry the same night, Derry Finn Harps, and it wasn't far off it. And as much as teams want to play, and I think Rovers and Dundalk want to play, but it's just natural that if it's an exposed venue, and if the elements are like that, it can have an impact. But you still have Jack Byrne, you've got Chris Shields back, who didn't play in the cup final against Rovers. Graham Burke is injured, but it looks like you're going to have a lot of talented midfield players on the pitch, and you just hope. Now, I think there's every chance they might cancel themselves out result-wise, but not in a way that it's like dour and negative. It might just be a decent enough game without necessarily someone striking a killer blow. But I mean, they both have 9 points from 9. They're going to be the two dominant teams this season no matter what. And Rovers took 1 point from 12 against Dundalk last year. If they don't improve on that, they haven't a hope of winning the league.
All right, we'll take a quick break and we'll run you through all the Europa League scores.
Off the ball
on News Talk.
Introducing the new Renault Zoe, Europe's best-selling electric vehicle since its launch. Now with an impressive range of 395 kilometres, meaning you'll have to stop long before your Zoe does. The new Renault Zoe from €26,990. The affordable electric vehicle for every day. Visit your local Renault dealer today. Price excludes delivery and related charges. See Renault.ie.
What about your man playing up front? He's on fire at the minute. Game will be over by half time.
Thanks, Mr. Taxi Man, but opinions nicked from sports radio won't help us hit the jackpot. The Hunch just picks the first 4 scorers in 4 selected games with Betway's 4 to score. Conversation over.
Heed your hunch with Betway's 4 to score for a weekly rollover jackpot. Selections must be submitted before the opening time of each scheduled round. Where there is more than one winner, main prize will be divided between winners. Full terms apply. 18 plus. Dunlewy.net.
Tim has now been video calling on his mobile with his potential new business partners in Madrid for 45 minutes and 37 seconds. Luckily, time on his phone isn't a concern for Tim. With Three's €20 SIM-only business plan, he gets all calls, all texts, and all you can eat data, so he can just keep nodding while he Google translates what on earth they're saying. Switch today at your local 3 store or visit 3.ie/business. 3. Make it count. €20 a month for the first 6 months, €30 a month thereafter. 30-day minimum term. Fair usage allowance applies to data used in the EU. See 3.ie.
Are you a fully qualified motor mechanic with FETAC Level 6 or equivalent? Are you looking for a secure, permanent, pensionable contract that offers a competitive salary and a performance-based incentive scheme? If that's a yes, the National Car Testing Service are currently recruiting for a number of HGV and LGV vehicle inspector positions nationwide. For more information, log on to ncts.ie or email careers@ncts.ie. The NCT, for safer, cleaner motoring.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Just had a tweet in from Kenny Gavin. That Robbie Keane opportunity I'm talking about was the game against Atletico Madrid, where he had already scored, but then, missed this glorious opportunity to win it. And I'm not saying that was the end.
But was cast, maybe.
Rafa Benitez wasn't one to really forgive and forget. So if you missed out any of the Europa League action, it is gone to extra time at the Emirates between Arsenal and Olympiacos. Arsenal led 1-0 from the first leg, but Olympiacos won tonight by a 1-0. Extra time just starting there. Elsewhere, Celtic are out, beaten 3-1 at home by FC Copenhagen. It looked as though that one was heading to extra time when Odsonne Edouard equalised from the penalty spot with 7 minutes to go. But 2 late goals from Copenhagen have given them victory, so Neil Lennon's side are out. And Manchester United comfortably through to the last 16. Fred scored twice in the second half, while there were first half goals from Bruno Fernandes, Odion Ighalo and Scott McTominay in a 5-0 victory. So they win by 6-1. We'll have Manchester United live for you here on Off the Ball on Sunday. They're at home against Everton in the Premier League. Stephen Doyle and Stephen Kelly will be at that one. That is us pretty much done though. OTBAM, our daily sports breakfast show, is back tomorrow morning at 7:30. You can get it on all our social channels and listen on OTB Sports Radio via the Go Loud app. Adrian and Owen will be in studio. Tommy Walsh will be on the show looking into his crystal ball ahead of GEA Congress, which kicks off this weekend. A crystal ball around GEA Congress.
Oh, I mean...
how exciting!
Yes!
How exciting!
Watch it, listen to it, tune in.
All of those things. It's Tommy Walsh, so...
Oh, that will be good, to be fair. It doesn't even talk about Congress, just talk.
Just talk. Did you see the video of Tommy Walsh this week?
Not this week, no.
Tommy Walsh in the caravan?
Oh, actually, I did see that, sorry, yeah.
Oh, glorious.
I mean, he's got a power.
Style.
He's got a power.
Tomorrow night, we'll be back on the radio from 7 o'clock. We'll bring you some more Brian O'Driscoll. We have trainer Paddy Roach on Friday Night Racing as well. Richie is in for Tom Dunn. Are we out of time? We're out of time. Dan, enjoy the match tomorrow night.
I will. You won't.
I won't. I'll be watching on TV. I'll enjoy it. It'll be just fine. I'll enjoy Saturday. The hardcore. Me and Johnny Ward, hardcore.
I'm going to be
First
in here.
Division. Well, enjoy that too.
I will.
All right. Richie's up next. Good luck.
Give him a ball and he out of grass. He'll give you a move for the perfect pass.